Hi, this is Dr. Darla. We'll get started in a minute. I'll let some other people join. Okay, we're gonna give AI9 Pro is how I'm seeing you. Can you throw your name in the chat? AI9 Pro, can you hear me? AI9 Pro, can you hear me? Okay, it looks like we got a couple more people joining us now. I'm gonna give it another minute or two. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all just throw in the chat if you can hear me? Okay, good. We'll get started in just a minute. I just want to give everybody a couple minutes. You know, we all need to kind of work through the technology and all of that kind of stuff. So just be patient. Hi, Anthony. I might have everybody set on mute. You have to unmute yourself to be able to chat. In just a minute, I'm going to make sure everybody's muted, like when I actually get started on the teaching, and then basically I'll open it back up to everybody for question and answers and that kind of thing. On Zoom, y'all can, you know, go in and set your preferences for your mic and whether you want to be on video or whether you just want to like an icon of yourself, that kind of stuff. So we're just going to give it another minute or two and then we're going to get started. Looks like, you know, this is going to be pretty intimate. With the rescheduling, I'm sure that kind of got a lot of people out of whack, and I really apologize for that. If y'all don't know, my husband is getting over like COVID, and he got pneumonia, and so that was why I had to spend my time taking care of him the last couple of weeks. So playing that Dr. Mom thing. All right. Thank you so much, Anthony, too, for the blessings. I always cherish those for sure. So anybody else that wants to introduce themselves can just do that in the chat. In just a minute, I'm going to get started and share my screen with you. So I have kind of a presentation, just keep me kind of on focus and on track, give y'all a little something to look at too, rather than just seeing me scratch my head and look perplexed when I'm trying to work through the technology. That, and I have two monitors, so I'm constantly looking around, I'm sure. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. We got a couple people join us. Okay. Okay, can somebody just throw in the chat that you see basically my screenshot? That is our first live session, Overcoming Stress in Modern Life Using Flower Essences. Is everybody seeing that? I want to make sure it's sharing my correct monitor. Okay. All right, so let's get started. We're going to go through my kind of my favorite strategies for overcoming stress. Okay, so for anybody who's unfamiliar about, with me and my work, my name is Dr. Darla Nofziger. I am a naturopath. I also have a doctorate in natural health, the science of natural health. So I'm a double board certified naturopath, and I'm certified by the American Alternative Medical Association and the American Association of Drugless Practitioners. My specialty is in bioenergetic healing. In fact, I was doing my dissertation on that years ago, and it's kind of one of the most overlooked things. A lot of people know about, nutritional and everything our bodies need to build our bodies, but the bioenergetic side and the messaging that directs those resources is really understood and not quite utilized in Western medicine. So if anybody is familiar with my essences, I am the founder and developer of the Blessed Essence lines. And I first got started in flowers, primarily in Bach flowers, but also I kind of believe God meets us where we are. So, in my neck of the woods in the Southeast, we have different flowers than, of course, they would have in Dr. Batch's work, in the UK. And then ultimately I got, expanded from there into, crystals and gems, making elixirs, and more recently in animal essences and cell salts. So, basically I specialize in working with various remedies that help to increase, personal vibrations. I am a flower essence therapist and been manufacturing now for, I think, like a dozen years, maybe going on 15 now, long enough that I don't really keep track anymore. I've been at it a while. So, okay, I'd like for everybody to just kind of let me know where you're at as far as your personal experience working with flower remedies. So this is the first, most obvious. If you have no personal experience, meaning you've never actually used them or tried them, maybe you just heard something about it and just a little curious. If that's you, can you put none in the chat to just let me know that, you're a newbie, you've never tried it experientially? And I'm gonna try and put everybody in like maybe 4 different categories based on your level of kind of knowledge and experience. So the next one would be a user. You've actually personally tried them. Maybe you use them occasionally every now and again. And then next, we would have like fans. So people, if you know the power of remedies, you've used them, you're like, my life just looks better, feels better with them. I'm a pretty regular user of them. We'll call you a fan. And last is if I have any professionals here, meaning anybody who actually manufactures or could be teaching this course, or, if you're a student actually getting certified or whatever, you would be a professional. Can y'all just kind of, just throw that in the chat, based on your user experience, just so I know if I've got a lot of more advanced, I can kind of get a little more granular, but if most of you are newbies, I'll keep it kind of more generalized. That'll just give me an idea of where everybody's at. Can everybody just do that real quick? Just none. I'm a user, I'm a fan, I'm a pro. I see Jerry's been working. I love working with pets and children, probably more than anything else, because a lot of people think, flower essences work based on placebo. And, obviously, if you have a belief in something, you're going to have a better healing response. That's just proven. But with children and animals, it really can't be a, that hopeful, hopium, I guess, just because children and animals have zero expectation that these little drops in this bottle is going to make a difference. And you'll see animals just, especially dogs, super happy, wagging tails, all that kind of stuff. So I love working with those. Okay. Yes. Pretty impressed. Yes. I mean, the right remedy at the right time is absolutely life-changing. I've seen some amazing things over the years, and it's one of the reasons why I love this work. So, okay, I think, we have some pretty, it seems like people are either mostly users and fans. So that's good. We can get a little in depth. Okay, so I've kind of uncovered kind of 7 different strategies of like how insane modern life has really gotten. Just all of a sudden, the last couple of years just gotten to be a strange place. So the first thing is adaptability, and that's just being able to kind of go with the flow quickly. The second thing, and I think this one is probably the most important by far these days, is discernment. Knowing, kind of who's telling you the truth and what. I mean, being able to gauge, it's gotten to be difficult. My next strategy is just dealing with overwhelm. I don't think there's a day that goes by that I don't talk to people that's kind of where they're at. It's just, I don't know where to start. It's just too much. It's too much. I get that. It's too much. Here's an overlooked one, and that's just bold confidence. I think more and more that's becoming, kind of necessity, just having the courage to step out, try things. The next one is letting go. I mean, too often we just carry around all of our scars and like to show them off, and we all have so many reasons to be disappointed or, bitter about things or whatever, and we can't take that bait. this is an important one too. I see so many people I talk to in consults will tell me that, they're using all kinds of things for just numbing out or helping the stress. So, not using all that as an excuse, your stress level to just make bad choices. And last is, kind of the strategy that's really the no-brainer, and that's kind of trying my stress blend. So that's kind of where we're going, what we'll be teaching on today. I want to remind everybody to stick around till the end, because one person from the US, I'm not sure exactly where everybody's from, will win a free remedy. And we'll go through that at the end. And also I'll give y'all a special coupon code for anything mentioned in this webinar. So just save y'all a little money if you decide to try any of these strategies. Okay, so the first one, and I think such an important one, is adaptability. And walnut is probably the most adaptable flower essences I've ever used. I absolutely believe that if Dr. Edward Batch were around and alive today and were to see our modern world, I really think he would have put that in the rescue remedy. I am absolutely convinced of it. It's so important today. So walnut helps us to adapt quickly to quick and constant changes. Anybody who's going through a major life change or crisis, whether they just had a baby, puberty, midlife crisis, changing jobs, anything, getting married, so many of those, just, your life just all of a sudden looks drastically different for some reason or another. Walnut is the absolute best for that. Walnut also offers probably the most protection, just helps us to set boundaries, not be so influenced. Just really is an important one for setting boundaries. It helps us to combat oversensitivity of all kinds. If you're easily offended, anything like that, walnut is really good for that. Here's another one too. It helps us to guard against excessive trusting. Today we're so bombarded with, marketing messages and, so many, just billboards and influencers and, all of these quote idols that we have that are, pushing us one way or another. It really helps us to kind of cut through some of that and seeing people's ulterior motives. It definitely helps us to stand our ground and be a little more assertive. It helps to protect against all kinds of outside influences. That's whether you're talking about, germs and invasive organisms to chemicals, whether environmental or food related or anything that your body might overreact to. Walnut's really good for that. Walnut's also good for discernment, which is, my second strategy for kind of helping to deal with modern stress. So let's talk about discernment a little bit. I have said to numerous friends and my family recently that the only thing I know for sure is that we're being lied to by all kinds of people. Whether it's, just exaggerating things or just, there's this kind of lack of transparency all of a sudden. So it's becoming increasingly difficult to know who to trust. Even discovering and discerning the truth, because so many, there are things that are photoshopped and, you know, fake news and just things that even things that you're seeing, you're like, I still don't know if that's real. Um, it's really gotten to be a strange place. Discernment's also just critical for just being able to see the big picture of your life, kind of priorities. It also helps us to know like what we need to just stay focused on, what's important, not getting lost in just kind of the details and the minutia. Discernment is key for discovering our passions and purpose. A lot of people don't realize that we really kind of have 3 levels of fulfillment in life, you know. So early on, starting out, mostly it's all about pleasure, you know. And you think about like even babies, you know, it's all about, am I wet? Am I dry? Am I, you know, am I hungry? What tastes good? All of those kind of instant gratifications. And the older you get, if you don't start discovering what your passions and ultimately your purpose, you know, why you are on planet Earth, what only you can fulfill, and really learning that purpose, that's what kind of drives that longer term happiness in life. So discernment is critical for, you know, kind of getting to those deeper levels. It's also really important to know when to say yes and when to say no. I mean, this life, I mean, down to social media, to all kinds of things. I mean, everything's just vying for our attention. And, you know, it's really easy to get caught up in very just things that are not important. I think discernment is helpful too, to just minding our own business. A lot of people, I think, get a lot, you know, get very fatigued and worn out because they're just constantly involved in way too much and other people's things that you just really can't control. And also, you know, lastly, discernment is really important for helping us run our own race. Kind of, you know what you need to focus on, or sometimes you don't, and you know, you need to kind of reel that in and get more. So my 2 favorite flowers specifically for discernment is gardenia and Caribbean spider lily. So let's talk about gardenia's positive potential first. It probably gives you the biggest picture, the widest kind of vision for what you need to be focused on, what your higher self, your authentic self is trying to do, and what's really important to you. It helps you to figure out what are your best resources and how to use those, kind of drill into your own talents and skills. Gardenia is a really good one for kind of attention deficit disorder, you know, staying focused, staying on task, really helps to give you a return of systems and order and organization. It's the one I love, like if I'm doing spring cleaning or, you know, trying to develop a new system of doing things. It's definitely good for higher thinking and actually persevering and being able to stick to topics, stick on task, and actually see things completed. Caribbean spider lilies potential. I really, really love this flower. It gives you a clear and open channel to act on divine wisdom. Just, I don't know, helping you to really become who you're meant to be and kind of figuring that out. Definitely helps to clarify your path and plans. But more than that, it also is very motivating to action. kind of gets you out of just thinking things through and like taking those steps and kind of a bold, fearless way. Definitely good for multitasking, again, prioritizing. And this one particularly is good for kind of seeing on a very granular level, very complicated, complex problems and kind of sorting them out. It helps to prevent complete indecisiveness. When you tend to overcomplicate things, I call it like the paralysis of analysis, where you don't get anywhere because you just need to keep mulling it over in your brain, trying to work it out kind of through rehearsal rather than working it out through experience, if that makes sense. And it's also very good for my next strategy, which is overwhelm. So this one, people feeling overwhelmed is probably the number one thing I get in consults working with people. It just seems everybody, I don't know where to start. It's too much. I hear things like all the things I got to do. I can't possibly be everywhere I need to be doing what I need to do. Everybody is just absolutely overwhelmed. And I think a part of that is because they spend too much time and energy comparing themselves to other people. And most of the time it's what they think other people are doing and not even necessarily what other people are actually doing, which is kind of a shame. So my best tip here is just you do you. Just quit trying to be anybody else, everybody else. Nobody has walked in your shoes. Maybe they would be doing exactly what you're doing if they have walked in your shoes. So just, don't get caught up in what you think everybody else is doing. The other thing for overwhelm is just simplify it. Can you simplify it? Could you explain it to just a small child, what you need to do, what's most important, kind of those just activities that are really key. Ask yourself, does this thing that I think is so important even matter? I get caught up in a lot of that like Christmas, where, you're just trying to do all of the things. And most of the times it's like, does it matter if it has one of those fancy bows? Does it really even matter if it has a bow at all? Just, does it really matter? The other thing with overwhelm, and this kind of goes back to the first one, is social media. Is it your friend or foe? How often are you using social media to compare your life to somebody else's? That's just not realistic. And we live in this filtered world and everything's photoshopped, and we think, everything you're seeing on everybody's social media, this is like their best of clips, right? I mean, what are your best of clips look like? So, just don't use that as an excuse to get overwhelmed. And if you find it overwhelming or it makes you feel bad about yourself, just shut it off. The other thing I want to talk about is just the reality that you can't have it all, and you shouldn't even want it all. We just do too much. You got to be kind to yourself and just have a little more realistic expectations of, what you can get done in a day. I'm very ambitious, so I just, I'm always one for just aiming high. Sometimes for dealing with overwhelm, you really need to just get quiet, be still, maybe take a walk, just listen to birds, just maybe be mindless for just 10 minutes and just let the important things just kind of float down, you know, just being okay with taking that time for yourself to just be still and be quiet. Because often we're not, you know, we just fill every space with something, you know. Also, do you have a clear path, you know? And I think this is where kind of being still and being quiet comes in, you know. Do you know your next logical step for whatever that thing that's overwhelming you? Because oftentimes we don't, but we can't let it go. We just stew on it and try and make something happen rather than just letting things be, I guess. This one's important. I could probably do an entire teaching just on being in the present moment. And one of the key reasons is, and a lot of people don't understand this, but all stress, worry, and anxiety comes from projecting out into the future. You're expecting something to happen. You're worried that it's always, you know, you trying to figure out what's coming. And it's very exhausting. It's very stressful. And the crazy thing is most of the time it never manifests the way we think it's going to or whatever. We kind of pre-rehearse it in our minds by worrying, just all of that. And we waste so much energy that way. We really do. We really do. So, and the other important thing about the present moment is it really is where all creativity happens. I mean, you think about it. If you're going to build a house, I mean, you're hammering those nails. Everything that happens in that creative process happens in the space of now. It's not projecting it into the future. It's not the regrets of looking, you know, at what's happened in the past. So being grounded in the present moment is so helpful for just managing stress. So let's talk about a couple of the flowers that are really great for overwhelm. Probably my absolute favorite is elm. And I mean, it really is the quintessential overwhelmed crisis. I've got too many responsibilities. There's not enough time in my day. How am I going to do it all? All of that is a classic picture of elm. So this remedy will take you from like excessive ambitions, you know, you have lofty goals that you'll just, you know, burn yourself out trying to get to. When you're completely overstimulated and just feel the need to just keep on going, keep on achieving, gotta do. And usually in a very perfectionistic kind of way. And the remedy will completely help you to just get calm and focused and centered, you know, more task oriented. Again, back to being in that present space of, you know, obviously if you want to achieve anything, you know, you have those task items that you are just going to have to stick with. Make sure, you know, you get done and propel yourself forward. Caribbean spider lily, I definitely love. Again, it's that gives you that clear and open channel to act on your, you know, kind of your higher self, your higher thinking wisdom, just that kind of built-in intuition. It really is good for that. Again, it'll help you to clarify your path plan and helps to motivate you towards action. And obviously when you're overwhelmed, that's, you know, just key to kind of keep you on track, keep you moving forward. again, great for multitasking, prioritizing, and really simplifying very complex, complicated problems, and will help to prevent the indecisive, overcomplicating things, and getting overwhelmed. I mean, a lot of times when you're really out of balance with this flower, a lot of times you don't start anything because you were just so, I don't even know where to start. So generally it just kind of burns you out and you don't do anything. So the next strategy I want to talk about is bold confidence. I really think that this is important in today's society. Just feels like you really have to have the courage to just step out, or you just kind of get lost, kind of lost in the shuffle. The other thing about confidence is just the mindset aspect of it. Are you a glass half empty, glass half full kind of person? Do you expect and anticipate success, or do you expect and anticipate like failure or problems or obstacles or whatever? The ironic thing is it takes kind of the same energy to do either of those things. So if it comes down to choice, choose to believe for success. Just kind of do that aim high thing. The other thing is whether you play it safe or you take risks. And I don't mean crazy risks, but a lot of times we just, put it off because it just doesn't feel safe. It's kind of scary. Never done it. Sometimes you just got to do it. Here's a good one. Do you build yourself up or tear yourself down? And how is that you treat other people? And do you treat yourself at least as good as you do others? Are you harder on others than you are yourself, or are you harder on yourself? And why do we do that? Here's another thing that I think is important in today's modern world. The last couple of years, I've kind of gotten obsessed with skill set. I work with a lot of autistics, and most of the time I find that just teaching them that one skill of the thing that they just feel out of control, or they feel like they can't grasp, or that they're really struggling with. And if they see a system or a process or one idea, one methodology, or they can learn one skill, how that confidence can transcend so many things. And somebody or other said, I don't know, I think it's something crazy, like you have to have 10,000 hours doing something to be an expert at it. And I personally don't exactly believe that. I mean, I do think obviously there is much to be had for practice and experience. I am never going to argue that. But if you get really good training, I mean, step by step, and you have good models and you have good systems, and you can leverage a lot of that. And that will absolutely transcend in confidence. The other thing, so many people I talk to are, well, if they're smart, they're recovering perfectionists. They're trying to recover from perfectionism. so often we let things get stolen from us because we just, they're not going to be perfect, so I don't start it. And sometimes you just got to get something going, even if it's a mess, even if it's just have the confidence to just say, this is good enough for now. And the more times I do this, the better it's going to get. And, and be okay with those kind of small beginnings, I guess, small beginnings. And the last thing I would just remind everybody, I love this quote, and I forget, I want to say it's Confucius, but I know it's not Confucius. One of my Eastern gurus, let me just say that, one of my Eastern gurus reminds us that everything is hard before it is easy. And that is so true. So again, just, small beginnings, let that be enough, and you can always build on it from there. So let's talk about my two favorite confidence flowers. So probably, the quintessential is the larch. And larch's positive potential is completely determined and self-confident. It's the remedy that will take you from feeling inferior, incapable, hesitant, and comparing yourselves to others to complete self-confidence, objectivity in your gifts and skills, and a belief in like the best outcome and success. Pine, I'm probably more of a pine type than a larch. And the positive potential for pine is self-worth, being able to self-affirm, not necessarily having so much to rely on other people giving you the atta girls, you can kind of be your own cheerleader, and sometimes that being enough to just get you through. And complete self-acceptance, which is good again for like recovering perfectionism. So this remedy will take you from like self-blame, being guilty, just never quite feeling good enough. It's always, you always tend to make it your own fault. You're apologetic, definitely overachieving perfection. I mean, perfectionism is really strong in the pine type. Never quite feel good enough, and just a little inept and inadequate, and even like the sense of just not being quite seen. You're always kind of almost that wallflower, not necessarily in like a withdrawn kind of way, but just more introverted, I guess. And it will bring about like a total self-respect, just a very healthy self-respect. Again, being able to take a kind of an objective inventory of your strengths and talents, it lets you to kind of be kind to yourself. Again, a little while ago, I asked, are you harder on yourself than you are other people? Are you harder on other people than you are? Because if you're really one of those people that I demand so much of myself, you really may want to look at pine. And it just gives you a healthy pride of, who you are, what you're able to do. Here's an important strategy for dealing with modern stress, and that's just getting over it. Being the kind of person that, writes your hurts in the sand and just lets the water kind of rush over it. Don't be a collector of, every bad thing that ever happened to you. I mean, I don't know why oh, look at this scar. Do you know how I got this one? Oh, this one. I don't know why we do that. And here's the funny thing, science has proven that we suffer the same amount of stress going kind of reliving it than we had the first go round. So it's really important to just not hold on to every life's disappointment and every resentment we've ever had for somebody. Just being able to let those things go. My favorite flower for just kind of checking all of that, the door, is willow. And willow's great for anybody who's moody. I mean, they keep scores, again, tend to show off their battle scars, and they'll kind of get caught up in their own self-pity, and just kind of the victim mentality will definitely kind of self-destruct and self-sabotage themselves, especially when they're under stress. It's just really important for that. So let's talk about some of the positive potential of willow. It'll definitely help you to just kind of forgive and forget, not kind of hold on to all of that and replay it over and over. It helps you to kind of accept any responsibility. I mean, even if it's just what lesson do I need to learn here? What's the takeaway from this experience? Did I have a hand in how this thing just kind of fell apart or whatever? And if there is any of that, it helps you to kind of just be able to evaluate that. Willow is great for helping us to just find enjoyment in life again, kind of making us a little more lighthearted and just, I guess, unburdened by all of those things. It'll definitely help us to attract positive things in our lives, people, places, circumstances, that kind of stuff. And will definitely help us to kind of have our humor and give us a little more optimism, and just give us a general contentment. And I think being content in life, no matter what's kind of coming your way, that's like the ultimate sign of maturity, I think. So this is a very important strategy for stress. And again, I talk to so many people that this is where they're stuck. When we're just going through a lot of stress, it can so easily just become a justification to just slip into bad behavior. And a lot of the people I talk with talk about things that they're using to, the ironic thing is they think it's helping them to manage their stress, whether it's eating comfort foods. So they say, where, okay, so you had pizza and chocolate cake for dinner. How is that going to affect you tomorrow? Is that really helping your stress, or is that adding to it? So people have all kinds of things that they're numbing out with, kind of what I would call, cravings, compulsions to do things, or even addictions. And I just kind of generally define addiction as any short-term pleasurable thing. Earlier we talked about kind of the different phases of, happiness. So, just doing all of those pleasurable things that are that short term, you get that instant gratification. but that have long-term negative consequences. And, you know, obviously people can be using all kinds of different things, whether it's food. I get a lot of people the last couple of years, more and more people who are using marijuana. I mean, drinking has always kind of been an underlying thing. Occasionally I get people that are struggling in that area. But it's more than that too. I mean, they can be using sex, foods, all kinds of things. So again, social media, you know, I know we don't really think about addiction to social media, but you know, by that definition, it kind of is a good thing. So again, many times they get caught in that lie of just whatever this short-term pleasurable thing is helping them manage their stress. You know, I think food and drugs and alcohol are probably the most common, where people, you know, they supposedly that's what they're using it for. But yet when you start really drilling down into that, they realize, oh, wait, well, it doesn't help me to manage my emotions the next day, or it's really adding to the problem, not helping it. Oh, now I'm paranoid. Now I'm this or that. Where it really is adding to their stress. I mean, a lot of people that are drinking and then they can't sleep at night, and then they even less likely to manage their stress. So, you know, you kind of have to get out of all of those kind of lies that we tell ourselves of, oh, it's making things better, when really it's making it worse. And sometimes journaling is good for some of that, where I kind of call it a head-heart conflict, where, you know, your head telling you one thing and your heart's telling you something else, or, you know, on a more of a gut level, I guess, that's not true. Sometimes writing some of that stuff down helps that. So, you know, if you tend to fall into those bad choices and that kind of stuff, these are two of the blends that I really like for helping anytime you're dealing with addictions or the recovery process. But we are all given the spirit of self-control. At least that's what my good book says, and I tend to agree with that and meditate on it. And I think that's a good idea if anybody is struggling in those areas. The other thing I would just remind people is choose positive ways of blowing off steam. You know, sometimes they'll kind of fall into gossip or other things that's just not in your best interest. You know, I love finding a fun, sweaty activity for this. I personally love to dance, but I also have a stair climber, which is I actually love that thing, but because it's kind of like air dancing. It's really weird, but so anything that just you find that brings you joy and that helps you to be more physically active and all of that, I think is just so much a better way. Oh, and the other thing, I don't think I put on this slide, but is another good thing is comedy relief. Assuming you can find just a really good, funny movie. Humor's gotten weird lately too. I don't know why people just don't know how to have fun anymore. Maybe everybody's just holed up for so long, like we've just forgotten how. But comedy relief would be really good for that too, and it's more of a healthy way of dealing with stress. And my last strategy for dealing with stress is obviously the no-brainer. You know, my my done for you stress remedy. And this particular flower blend has 8 flowers, and we've talked about 2 of them. But if you're interested in kind of taking a look at those flowers, what's in that, you can click the link there, and that'll take you to basically the flower essence profile of everything that's in that stress blend. And that one works pretty good. The other thing too is probably peace would be another really good one that I didn't even think to put on here, but it's probably worth mentioning as well. Okay. The last, and this is kind of a bonus, these aren't flower essences, but definitely worth mentioning is not forgetting the nutrition. B vitamins in particular, very, very helpful. So most of you, like all of your green leafy vegetables, good green, greens, will have good B vitamins. I love Intramax, is probably one of my favorites for just dealing with stress. They have like a herbals matrix that's actually in there. I don't know how many herbs, but a lot of adaptogens, just some really, really good herbs in that. And it's good at helping to manage stress, especially chronic stress. And the last one worth mentioning is the 16B by Systemic Formulas. I love Systemic Formulas. I'm going to be teaching on like what makes them so special at some point. I got a lot of different teachings I want to do, but this particular blend is synergistically blended herbs and obviously 16 different B vitamins. So it is a very well-rounded complex, B complex. Since B vitamins are water soluble, you need them regularly. It's really important that you get them on a regular basis. In fact, that's one of the reasons why Intramax, I really like splitting up to, I mean, honestly, if you could get it into 3 times a day, doing it that like a third, just because, keeping those B vitamins on board. And a lot of people don't know this, but your body will use a tremendous amount of B vitamins when you're under, extreme stress. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to mention these 2. All right, so this has gone a little long, but I am totally here for any questions or comments, anybody's takeaways. Let me see. Okay. Anybody can unmute themselves if they would like and actually speak to the group. Y'all can certainly use the chat to ask any questions, or if anybody's got anything. So what'd y'all think? Did y'all learn some new strategies? All right, so anybody can come on if they want, ask a question either in the chat or They can unmute themselves and talk if they would like to. Okay. How are flower blends prepared or created? Okay. So, okay, let me kind of walk through the process. Let me talk about what the process would be for me. Let's say I had something in my yard right now. What do I have in bloom? Okay, I've got some roses right now that are in bloom. Quite beautiful. So there's a couple different methods you can use. You can use a cut method, which almost always I use a cut method. That is generally how Bach would use it. So the first step is how you're prepping the flower. So you can cut the flower and float it in water or boil it. I have personally never boiled a flower, made a flower essence that way. I always make it through the sun method. But sometimes I have done them uncut, which I either will siphon off dew like early on in the day, where it would just naturally be that way, or I'll take a little mister bottle and mist the flower and draw it off that way, and actually leave the flower kind of uncut, undisturbed, and do it that way. And then I will take, so when I do it as the sun cut method, I'll cut the flower, float it in distilled water, let it charge out in the sun. And then I have a device called the Avatar, which is what stores all of my energetic remedies. And then I use another piece of equipment that I actually imprint them. So it's kind of a multi-step process. I will basically take that stock essence, what has been that distilled water with that bloom floated in water, allowed to charge in the sun. I'll imprint it into my machine, and then basically when I go to imprint the essence, it has 16 different potencies, which is what makes them multi-chords. And that's kind of what really adds to the power and the strength of my particular remedies. So that's it's probably a little hard to follow without that is one of the things I want to do in the next not so distant future, hopefully the next month or so, is really kind of outline the full process of that and kind of let y'all see the behind the scenes. Because when I'm making like the stock bottles, that manufacturing process is like one step. How I bring in the flowers, is, it's kind of a multi-step process. So that's kind of how they're prepared. And then at the very end, once I know what that remedy is going to be, it's actually imprinted using the particular device I use right now as a wave runner. And that's what I actually imprint those on the stock bottles, which have the alcohol and the cell food and the distilled water, and then they get imprinted with the energies. Okay, let's see. All right. So I wanted to kind of, and unfortunately some people dropped off. Hopefully I can find them, but so I wanted to thank y'all so much for joining me. Hopefully y'all got some good strategies out of this presentation. I wanted to say, if y'all are in the US, If y'all would drop your name and the best email in the chat, so I can select a winner. I know there are a couple of people that have dropped off. I don't know if they're in the US or not. And the reason why this is only in the US, it's kind of heartbreaking for me, but since COVID, I am only shipping right now to US and US territories because it has gotten, customs has gotten to be a nightmare. Shipping, I mean, oh, it's just gotten crazy. I was losing a lot of money. It's taking a tremendous amount of time. Sometimes things get through, other times they don't. So it has just gotten to be crazy. So if anybody wants to drop your name and the best email in the chat, I will have a drawing for somebody for a free remedy. And lastly, I just wanted to say that anything, oh, let me remind myself, I want to add peace to that, even though it wasn't part of the presentation. So if you use the coupon code LIVE1, everything that I've mentioned in this, y'all will get $4 off everything. If there's any of the remedies you'd like to try. And I just thank y'all so much for joining me, and hopefully you found it helpful. Oh, thank you, Anthony, if you're still here. Great, great. All right. Thanks so much, y'all, for joining me. I think I will be able to find everybody that was on here. All right, y'all enjoy your day. Thanks so much. Bye.